Hey traders, I'm gonna do an update on the overall crypto market. Let's just stick to the majors here, and then I'll do an update on some of the altcoins and a few positions you guys had questions on from my traders. But listen, I've been out traveling a little bit due to the hurricane. Just couple of just This is how it has been the last few weeks. So it's been a lot of mobile trading and on the laptop. But this is kind of what we've been talking about, big picture. I want to just highlight on Bitcoin here. We did some top-down analysis on the monthly level today on the traditional global macro markets, gold, the dollar, euro, yen, etc. And there's not a lot to view on the monthly level of Bitcoin. It just hasn't even existed long enough to really generate um, some decent cycles. Um, but that said, the weekly, you can see this is just not that helpful, right? That's just one oscillation we typically really look at. When we look at the weekly level, I'm starting to notice the cycles are playing out in a much more, I don't want to say predictable, but there's just a nice rhythm here, all right, to this weekly cycle. So what's interesting, this seems subtle, but look how important this oscillation is. The settings that we like to use, 5 by 3, okay, look at Bitcoin. Last time we basically peaked into 2900, 2800, and the indicator crossed in front of that. And waiting for the cross isn't the signal, it's just a matter of being high within the cycle and learning to trail out using some other methods. But essentially, in the down cycle here, you can nibble and buy into this dip like we did. We bought into 1800. Um, But adding and getting more aggressive makes more sense after the cycle turns back up. And you can see here now the cycle's rolled over. So this isn't a dip to just be piling back in. You got to be patient. So we'll look at some of the smaller time frames. But again, if this look how much room there is to the downside if this weekly cycle plays out. Let's see if I can draw this here. I'll just do a straight line. A couple things. This is kind of going on here. These trend lines on a cycle or an oscillation here really don't matter that much, but what's interesting is that the rhythm horizontal through time is producing shallower and shallower cycles. So that's just because this trend in market's so strong. So low within the cycle might be actually a reading. You can kind of see it over here, 67 to 50. I don't think you're going to see a cycle low all the way back down to readings like you had here, back in 2016. It's possible, but I'm going to consider it's lower than the cycle, down around 50, 60 here. I'm not going to say, oh, we're not buying anymore. I'm not adding back to my position until we get down to these readings. It's just this cycle hardly ever gets down there. So I think that's just a matter of everything's relative, so this is a lot different than something that's been trading in the forex markets where you get a nice oscillation to the bottom here. That's just what I've observed on the weekly level. When we go to the daily, it's a little bit different. You'll see these cycles have been going all the way to the bottom of the outside band, and that's great for swing trades, guys. So I don't know too many people that are shorting this market. It's tough to find a good platform to short through. He's a US based investor. I mean, you can't even get margin in some spots. So until the option contracts come online, people say they're short. I'm not sure how much I believe them and I'm not sure this is a market you really want to short. But had you been swing trading this, if you caught the underside of this 8 and took this lower high short, this daily cycle, this move lower told you to cover your shorts well into the bottom here. And what I want to say about these dips I can't talk too much about our model, but my traders know that when we break what's called the bands, you tend to get a deeper setback, either to the 200 or pi. And these dips have been so shallow in this market because it's basically just a raging bull market. Um, okay, you break the bands, you should get a pullback either to the 200, it's supposed to be an arrow, or all the way back to the pi line, which is this dotted green line. So each time we broke the bands, we've gotten a deeper pullback, but we're having a hard time. This market has a hard time even getting back to the 200 period moving average. And the fact that price is above the 200, it's above pi, the bands are all positive, that's all indicative of a bull market. So don't let anyone tell you that this is a bear market or that's not the case. You're going to have to break some serious levels before anything starts to make lower lows. So once we kind of started to break this lower, or excuse me, this higher low, and then when we didn't hold this one, that opens the door for the deeper pullback. So you have to kind of be patient. And that's tough when the market basically V bottoms in between these bands and the 200. That's tough to catch because you want to nibble, but you can't really get aggressive because you have to plan for a deeper pullback back in this area. So this is what kind of remains to be seen, and I'll draw this on the 4 hour. If I can, I don't know, how do I get rid of these? These drawing tools are tough to do on the fly. No, I'm just gonna draw over it. Well, what I wanted to say is that after we break the bands, this is a lower low relative to here, this low. So what it creates, here was a higher low. You fail to make a higher low here. So this creates a lower low. I'll type on this. This creates a lower low relative to this area. So what does that mean? When you drop from here to a lower low, more than likely this bounce is going to be met with a lower high. And then either a retest of these lows, you could make a lower low, you could make a higher low right here. Okay, but the point is this is a new pattern of lower lows, and now we'll see if this is a lower high. But if the market starts to drop back down, what you're looking for is the pivot being created by the lower highs. I have no idea how I'm going to erase this. See, I lost all my drawing tools from. It's just frustrating. I don't know. Hide all drawings. Okay. These lower highs, though, that's going to be the key to whether this bottoms in. There's several ways a market can bottom. There's only about 4 different ways. This is a V bottom, and it's tough because you don't get a higher low or you don't get a double bottom to catch. It's just a new low, boom, straight up. But from here, we got to watch this pivot. If the market comes back down, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, guys. This is the new lower high here, right? This is the new lower low. So if price moves away from that pivot, as soon as the price moves away from it, that'll create the pivot. Now, if and when you move here and then you get a higher low or you double bottom, it doesn't really matter what the lows do. When you're looking at a pullback, you want to watch the pivot lower highs. So this move here, if it creates a pivot, it's whether or not price can get back above that pivot when it'll tell you that a new intermediate term uptrend is underway. it's about the lower highs. So you watch the lower highs. So right now we just put in most likely a lower high there off the V bottom bounce. So there's still a chance we could retest 2000, maybe 2400. This low supports what, like 1750, 1800. And what I'm telling you, when to get more aggressive or when to look for the intermediate term to move back up is when we take out these pivot lower highs. So right now in this intermediate term pullback, we're just making lower highs. Once you can do this, if and when the price can do this, come back up. Oh, maybe it doesn't make a lower high, it doesn't break the lower high, double bottoms, whatever. Boom, there. When you take out the new higher high, that is the new intermediate term uptrend. So this is a long-term bull market. This is a long-term uptrend, and this is within the context of an intermediate term pullback. So I'm telling you, to get the intermediate term back bullish, we need to see higher highs on the intermediate term. So when we go to the 4-hour, you can see this is the V bottom. This real money candle is showing you strength, and this is the move to a lower low, the bounce to a lower high. You see this high is lower than this high. Okay. Now you can argue that this was a lower high here, and then here we failed to get back to the lows. So this is a higher low. And now we just try to poke above this pivot. I want to watch this whole area, this 200. This can be a pivot high now, and or this one. They're both kind of the same area, 4100, 4390. If you get back above there, you'll see how these bands are all negative now. They're downward sloping. You get those back bullish, you get above this pivot high, then you can start thinking about a retest of basically 5,000. All right, so I like this real money candle that shows you the bull stepped in. If you give me a pullback back within the zone of this candle, 3,400, we're going to be buying some back. Some of you bought pretty well with us down in this dip, and then we punched some out. So if you buy into the low, you nibble, you come out of some, you get the pullback, you buy some back. Well, anyway, that's kind of a long-winded video, guys, on just the most recent price action on Bitcoin. We got a V bottom. We're watching this intermediate term lower highs, and we got a daily cycle that basically completed its full cycle down and now turned back up. So we'll want to see how oversold we are here on the RSI too. So we'll see where this cycle is on the next bounce. If price is high back towards the highs up here, that could spell trouble if the cycle's high. If it comes back lower and the cycle's high, we're going to have to maybe even wait for another cycle down to get more aggressive. It just depends. You got to look at price and time together. It's not just about price and trend. You gotta build in the component of time in the cycles. So anyway, guys, hope that helps, and I'll try to hit on some of the altcoins here also for you.